Oh, hey there, Dr. Jordan Peterson. How are you? Hi. How's it going? Come on in. I have a special message for just you. Please come on in. I'd love to share. Since I see you're in the business of giving special messages to people, to Christians, and to Muslims like yours truly, but I see that you're not really interested in giving messages to other groups of people. Interesting how that works. Anyways, I couldn't help because I'm on X. By the way, y'all should follow me on X, please. Mr. Harry 198. Please do so. It's right there in the blueness down below. Anyways, Dr. J, I couldn't help but notice, as many other commentators have noticed recently, that you said some interesting things, and your daughter Michaelia also said some really interesting things about the First Amendment, freedom of speech. Now, I want to take a step back here and talk for a second about why you are you and why you're so special and how you got all those multi-millions of dollars from book deals and speaking events. Do you remember how that went down exactly? Do you remember? I think. Oh, yeah. It's because you protested against censorship publicly, forcefully. That's how you became famous. Not your lectures on YouTube from 30 years ago. The Bible series was pretty cool, I'm not going to lie. But that's not why you're famous. That's not why you have a big fat bank account. The reason that you have all this money, sir, is because you stood up for the First Amendment and the right of people to say the truth, even if it's difficult. And as you yourself mentioned and understood, at least allegedly understood, sometimes that means people are going to say some dumb things, bad things, and even evil, dark things that may or may not be true. That's the price of freedom. Sometimes people say things that are not true. We have to allow them the grace to say that because it is their God-given right to do so, right? I mean, that's literally why you left Canada and came to America, right? Nick Fuentes said some mean things and you didn't like it. You called him a rat. And your daughter said that, oh, please, Uncle Elon, please ban these people. They're saying mean things to the Jewish people. They're anti-Semitic. We should mute them or throttle them. Yeah. You know, Dr. J, I know you don't know me because I'm just a dumb redneck from Texas who used to drive a truck for a living, but I gotta say, I found that one a tad bit galling. In fact, I found it really galling that you and your daughter would go down that rabbit hole. But I guess it's not really that surprising. I mean, after all, you are taking a check from the Daily Wire now, aren't you? And Miss Candace Owens doesn't work there anymore because she didn't toe the party line. So I guess they had to fill it with somebody else. Yeah. Yeah, Dr. J, we're going to a little chit chat here. See, right here in Indonesia where I live as an expat, if I go down the road this way, tad bit, this way is back there. Yeah. There's this old part of town where the Dutch used to have their colonial administrative center. And now it's a tourist museum. People go there to take pictures. They put on little Dutch colonial era hats. I got a few photos of those myself. Jordan Peterson, the colonizer. The colonizer sellout. That's who you are. See, you come and you say, "Oh, I'm fleeing from Canada, and now I live in America." Okay, what kind of Canada? What part of Canada exactly? Are you First Nations? Are you a Quebecer? I don't think so. Not with a name like Peterson. No, I think you come from the Anglo side of the house. Yeah. I think you must have forgotten something. I think you forgot that when you come into other people's countries and you tell them what they can and cannot do, they don't like that very much. In fact, they get a tad bit resentful. Yeah, they don't like it. No, 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 no. No, see, here in Indonesia, they didn't really like the Dutch coming in and telling them what to do. And now the Dutch colonial administration is history. It's a museum piece. I find it really fascinating how many Zionists like to come into America and tell all of us, I just can't help but notice, they all come in and say, people shouldn't be allowed to say what they really think. Why is that? Why can't we say what we really think, even if it's wrong? And then I realized something. The Dutch Colonial Administrative Building with its tourist vibes now. It's a tourist center. That's going to be APAC headquarters in about 20 years, my friend. We're going to turn that into a cafe. So you see, Dr. J, the only reason that the Zionists like Shmuley and Shapiro are in charge right now, the only reason that they're able to get the Christian majority America to go along with what they want is because the boomers are in charge for now. But you saw that debate stage like we did. It's was basically two old octogenarians debating about who's going to give more money to Bibi Netanyahu to go murder Palestinian babies. Yeah. I didn't like that debate very much, but it's a very good indication of who's still running the show for now. You don't have to like Nick Fuentes. You don't have to like him. I don't agree with him on everything he says. You don't have to like me. You don't have to like Moose Plus Lambs. You don't have to like Islam. You don't have to like any of us or anything. But one thing you cannot do, Dr. J, is you better not come into our country and tell us what we can and cannot say and tell us what our rights are and aren't. As you side with our colonial overlords at APAC. Jordan Peterson, the colonizer, the sellout. Jordan Peterson, the colonizer. When you called Nick Fuentes a rat, that was a Jungian projection, really. You're really more like Jordan Peterson, the Benedict Arnold. Yeah. I don't really want to bore you with too much more history here. It's purpose of this video is not to give a in-depth history lesson. I think you know historically what happens to countries, or excuse me, people in countries who sympathized with their colonial overlords once the colonial overlords had to leave. I think you know what happens to them. Sometimes they're pardoned. Sometimes they're ignored. Sometimes they're marginalized. Sometimes they're chased down. Now, I don't want you to be afraid of me. because I'm just here on vacation, extended vacation. You shouldn't be afraid of me at all. I'm married and I have a life. But see, Nick Fuentes, that rat, rar, the rat, rar, da, 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 baby, mustache man. Yeah, that guy. Baby Hitler. See, Nick Fuentes represents a young, up and coming demographic of very upset, scary men. And they have been radicalized because, unlike their boomer parents, they don't have the same views on Christianity and its relationship to Zionism. No. And for the record, I'm not one of those people who hates all the Jews. I don't think like that at all. In fact, I'm not the biggest Hitler fan in the whole wide world, to be honest. Hitler had some very legitimate grievances, but he was also a neo-pagan, and his people, his henchmen, were all into occultism and neo-paganism. The swastika itself is a inverted Buddhism symbol turned 45 degrees. I don't really think that Christians or Muslims should be taking on that kind of thinking or symbolism. And unlike Fuentes and other people in that movement, I am not a Holocaust denier. I'm very aware that the Holocaust actually happened. Painfully aware. And I think it's terrible. And the wrong people got caught up in that. The people who should have been accountable for all the misdeeds of certain folks, they probably already had left by the time that all went down. And a lot of innocent people, men, women, and children, were slaughtered horribly, savagely. So I don't promote or endorse the Fuhrer. But do I understand why the Fuhrer was a thing? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I kind of get it now. Yeah. It took me a while. It took me about 10 years, Well, no, really, even 10 years ago, I kind of knew. I knew. I know why the Fuhrer was a thing. So, Dr. J, a little, and Miss McKellia too, a little word of advice, a word of caution, recommendation. Don't come in our country and tell us what to do or say. Don't ever do that again.